Yes, so you're very welcome to this course. It's the Mind, Reactive and Creative, and it's the 6-week Buddhism course starting tonight. And my name is Vajrashura, as I've said. If you've just arrived, you're very welcome. There's still people coming in. And Prasannadeva, do you want to say a quick hello? And I'll come back to you to introduce yourself in a moment.
Quick hello from me, Prasannadeva. Good to see you all.
Great. So just to say a bit about myself and about the course. So myself and Prasannadeva are leading the course, and we have a team of about 6 people as well then who will be, we'll have breakout rooms a couple of times each night, and you'll get to meet various ones of them then over the course. Just to say a bit about myself, I am a Buddhist. I work for the Dublin Buddhist Centre, as is Prasannadeva, and I am an ordained Buddhist. That's why I have the strange name. I grew up in the west of Ireland in South Roscommon, but I've been in Dublin for the last, 25 years now. And I came across Buddhism and meditation in 1999 in the Dublin Meditation Centre, as it was. And then that became the Dublin Buddhist Centre in the early 2000s. And I've been ordained since 2007. So what it means to be ordained in our community is that you live a really committed Buddhist life. And that's why you have the strange name and why we wear these cases, which are like you could say they're symbolic of our commitment to a Buddhist life. And is there anything else I could say about myself? Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the course. I'll say more about the course in a few moments. Prasannadeva, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Prasannadeva. As Vajrashura said, I'm also working here in the Buddhist Centre. I'm the manager, and yeah, I was ordained last year in May on a 9-week long retreat, and yeah, I've been coming to the Buddhist Centre for almost a decade. I came along to initially do yoga and then meditation, and then learned a bit about Buddhism, and it kind of snowballed from there. And before I knew it, I was an order member. Well, not before I knew it, 10 years later. And yeah, just really looking forward to getting into this course. And it's a new course, so and it's a lecture that it's based on a lecture that I particularly love. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, so that's me really.
It's probably worth saying as well, that we hadn't planned that you do it from the office. So excuse the
yes.
Yeah, it was a mix-up, logistical mix-up.
There should be, if you could imagine a really beautiful shrine right behind me with a Buddha image, that would really help me, because that was the intended look for this evening, but I overlooked, and it's actually double booked. So I'm in the office at the minute. So
right,
thank you for the moment.
Okay, and Rohanna, I'm going to spotlight you next if you want to just say hello. I'm going to add all the team as well if you guys want to just say hello one by one.
Hi everybody, yeah, I'm Rohanna, and I'm really looking forward to doing the course and meeting some of you every week, but hopefully meeting you all over the 6 weeks. I haven't done this course, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And I've been involved with I've been virtually coming to the Dublin Buddhist Centre for about a year and a half now. Thanks.
Great, thanks. And Tom?
Yeah, hi everybody and welcome. I'm Tom. I live out in Shankill, South County Dublin. Really looking forward to the course and working with some of you.
Great, and Sam then? I'm just going to call out your name so you don't wait for someone else to go.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam. I've been involved with the Centre for about 5 years, and I'm really looking forward to spending this course with you.
Great, and Jamie?
Hi everybody, my name is Jamie and I am a Mitra. I'm in Vajrashura's Mitra study group with Sam as well, and I have been coming to the Dublin Buddhist Centre online since about a year, I'd say. Is it now? I'm not sure. But before that I was a Mitra in the London Buddhist Centre for a number of years. So yeah. So,
great.
me.
Thanks, Jamie. And being a mitra means that you're committing as well to living a Buddhist life, to your practicing Buddhism. And then Dee.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dee. I'm from Dublin, Ireland, but I live in Geneva, Switzerland. And I'm kind of been connected with the Dublin Sangha since 2007, 2008. And yeah, really love this theme. So really looking forward to getting stuck in.
Great, thanks, Dee. And Carol.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carol. I'm half Brazilian, half Portuguese, but been living here in Ireland for the past 3 years. I am a pandemic Buddhist, so I started coming to the Buddhist Centre at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's been wonderful. Today I had a chat with Atulya Mitra, and she said it's okay if I want to be Mitra, so I'm very excited about that. Got accepted today. And I can already see some familiar faces. It's great to have new and familiar faces here. Looking forward for it. Thank you very much.
Great. And then thanks, Carol. And then Stephen's standing in to do the tech support tonight. So Stephen.
Hi guys. Yeah, I'm only with you for 1 week, but delighted to be here. I've been coming to the centre for about 3.5 years. I'm in Drumcondra. I'm actually quite close to where Vajrashura is. If you have any IT problems during the night, you can just message me and I'll try and help you out. Okay.
Great, thanks guys for that. So just to say a bit then about the Dublin Buddhist Centre. So you normally.
Sorry, can I come in there? I forgot to introduce myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I came in late. I know. I was at training. Yeah, I'm Derek, and I'm here with Brendan. We're in Mullingar, and I'm looking forward to the next 6 weeks. And it's a course I haven't done before. I'm looking forward to meeting you all. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Derek and Brendan. Great. So just to introduce the centre, I mean, normally I'd be in the centre with you, obviously, and we are starting to reopen our courses and that. We open it for in-person events. We're starting our hybrid courses next month, but you are technically, so to speak, in the Dublin Buddhist Centre. And the Dublin Buddhist Centre is part of a worldwide Buddhist community called the Triratna Buddhist Community. I'll come back to that a bit more later on. And it was founded in 1991. It's a not-for-profit religious charity, if I got that right. Yeah, not-for-profit religious charity. And basically what the Dublin Buddhist Centre is about is just offering Buddhism, meditation, the Dharma, which is what we call the Buddhist teachings, to people like yourselves to help live better lives in a way, to really enrich your lives with the Buddhist teachings. And we do it completely, like none of us are being paid to do this, and we're offering this course to you guys for free. And you know, we want to offer the Buddhist teachings and hopefully go deeper into them. So I could say a lot more about the Buddhist Centre, but that's probably enough for now. You can ask more over the weeks. So then, to give a sense of the course, I just want to, let me just share my PowerPoint. So to give you a sense of what we'll be doing on this course, it's a 6-week course. This week we'll be looking at the 3 big ideas and moving from reactivity to creativity. And Prasannadeva will say more about that after the tea break. Next week and the week after, we'll be looking at how mind creates world. And we'll be looking at an icon or an image called the Wheel of Life, and exploring a particular teaching from that called the 6 realms. There's loads of information in that, so we're going to spend 2 weeks on it. In week 4, we're going to be looking at watching the gap. Watching the gap in terms of moving from what we call reactivity into creativity. Week 5, we'll be looking at happiness and beyond. So instead of going around the wheel, we start to move up the spiral of creativity. And then in the last week, week 6, we'll be looking at the enlightened mind. So what are the qualities of an enlightened mind? How would an enlightened being like the Buddha behave? Yeah. So that's what we'll be doing over the next few weeks, and all really, really interesting stuff. And then just a few other, then tonight what we'll do is, we're in the middle of the introductions and the overview of the course. In a few minutes, we'll go into groups just to introduce ourselves a bit more. So it's not all just us talking at you, and you'll have a chance to meet the team member as well that's in your group. We'll have a break, and after the break, we'll be looking at the nature of mind, you could say. Prasannadeva will be presenting reactive mind and creative mind, which will kind of form the basis for the whole course. And included in that will be some reflection as well. And then we'll have home practice and a chance for questions. We'll go back into groups as well later on to see if there's any discussions or that to be had as well. Okay, so let me just stop sharing then. So just to say a few final points about, by way of introduction before we do a short meditation to arrive. So it is a 6-week course. So what we'd ask you to do is come every week. Come every week, even if you don't want to, in a way. You'll only get from the course what you put into it. And if you come every week, you'll get a lot more from the course than if you turn up intermittently. So, you know, and just decide to commit now. Just decide to commit now and commit to coming. That's the easiest way to do it. Come early. Well, come on time. You know, if you can, if we're in the Buddhist Centre, I'd say to come a few minutes early. You can go into the shrine and have a lie down and have a nap if you wanted, you know, things like that. But maybe you want to come early yourself at home and have a nap at 6:45, and then you know, we'll start the course at 7 o'clock. So we'll be starting at 7 o'clock, reasonably sharp every week, and it can help if you're there straight away. If you are going to miss the class, please do email me or Prasannadeva. You probably have our emails, and I'll be sending a follow-up email today from the class with the notes and stuff. I'm also going to be sending you out the book, which there was the link in the email that you got already may not work anymore. So I'm going to send you the correct email tonight just to note that. And Eileen, that's fine. You can. That's a good point. Eileen, you just reminded me that there will be a recording of every night. So if you have to leave early or you miss the night, even though don't miss the night, but if you have to miss the night, you can catch up on the video that we'll send out as well. And let us know if you're going to miss it. And each week, put aside some time to read the book as well. We will be giving you home practice around this, but the book is very good. I'll come back to the book in a few minutes. And we will be giving you home practice each week to really make the most of the course in between the weeks that we meet here like this. Okay, so there are just a few points. They're all really self-evident. I think they're all really, you know what they are. So why don't we, before we go into the groups, let's do a short meditation just to arrive. So this won't be a formal sit. You know, you don't have to sit in your cross-legged posture unless you really want to. But the main thing is just to get comfortable and be able to sit reasonably upright or supported in your chair or on your cushions or whatever. I mean, if you want to lie down, you can as well, but just make sure you're not going to fall asleep. Yeah. So I'll just give us a moment to set ourselves up so we're reasonably upright and reasonably alert. When we're ready, then, if we want to close our eyes, we can do so. And firstly, just settling into a sense of being seated here in your room, taking in the sounds you can hear around. Sounds in the room, the sounds beyond the room. Tuning into our sense of contact with the floor, with the cushions, with the chair. Tuning into how our body feels, in other words, and this can be easiest where we feel that contact. Noticing our feet and our toes. Are they warm or cold? Can we feel the contact with the floor, with our socks, with our shoes? Moving up into our ankles. Our calf muscles, our shins. Becoming aware of our knees, the bend of our leg at our knees, the fabric of our clothing over the fronts of our knees, the space behind the knees. Our thighs, muscles here, letting them just go, letting them relax without any shape or holding. Becoming aware of our sitting bones, our hips, our pelvis. Our back, our spine, our shoulders, our shoulder blades. Our neck and throat. Our jaw. Our mouth, and nose and cheeks. Our eyes and our forehead and our eyebrows. Scalp and our ears and the backs of our head. Coming down into our arms and our upper arms and our elbows. Our forearms and our wrists. Our hands and our fingers. And then becoming aware of the stomach and the abdomen. Again, letting go of any holding or tightness here if we can. Becoming aware then of the heart area, the chest, the rib cage. For the last few moments, just watching the breath come in and go out. Each breath in, each breath out. And then broadening out your attention once more to take in the sounds we can hear. The sense of the room, the building, the world. And bringing the practice to a close then. In your own time, starting to reintroduce movement. And in your own time, when you're ready, opening your eyes. Great. So that was just a small meditation. You know, we won't be teaching meditation on this course, but we'll do a short sit at the start of every evening. Okay, so what we're going to do next then is now that we've arrived more fully and you know, hopefully you feel more engaged, more connected with yourself rather after the body scan. We're going to go into small breakout rooms. So I think these will probably be about 5 or 6 people each, is it, Stephen? I can't quite remember what we said. Yeah, so 5 or 6 people each. And what this is a chance for, there'll be team members in every group. There might be more than one team member in some groups. What we'll be doing is just introducing yourself, maybe just say a little bit about yourself and where you're from. And then why you've booked onto the course and what you hope to get from it. So what attracts you to the course and what you hope to get from it. So very simple. And you'll have about 1 or 2 minutes each. It'll be about 12 minutes in total. The one thing to say is that the groups will be the same each week. So do try and remember who you're with. So you can remember the name. We've also put the color after each of us as well. So you can try and remember the color. If there's 2 team members in the group, you might need to, Stephen might need to change the colors, I think. But Stephen, when you're ready, if you want to put us into the groups, that would be great. Okay, so just 1 or 2 more things to say then before we do, before we have a short break for 10 minutes. So the next thing then is, you might have seen this already on your email if you opened it up, but this course is based upon a Buddhist lecture given by Sangharakshita called Mind, Reactive and Creative, and that's the name of the course as well, obviously. So this was a really, so to say a bit about Sangharakshita, he is the man who founded our particular Buddhist community. We're part of the Triratna Buddhist community. Triratna means the 3 jewels. The 3 jewels of Buddhism are the Buddha, his teaching, and the spiritual community, known as the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. But so he founded Triratna back in the late 1960s. He was an English monk who then left being a monk and just set up a new Western Buddhist movement. And that Buddhist movement is now spread all over the world. And you couldn't really call it Western anymore because it's all over the world. So we're the Triratna Buddhist community. And this lecture was given in 1967. I wasn't born in 1967. I was born in 1977, so I don't know what it was like back then, but you could just imagine at least the height of the hippie years. The Summer of Love was about to begin. Vietnam was on. Lots of crazy stuff going on around the time this lecture went off. And he gave this lecture, yeah, Mind, Reactive and Creative. And he was talking about how enlightenment is a state of continual creativity, of deepening and ever deepening creativity. So you could say it was a lecture on wisdom and what a Buddhist, from a Buddhist point of view, what a wise mind looks like. And this then was turned into a book recently by myself and others to use in courses like this. So I just want to, this is the cover of the book. So it's called Mind, Reactive and Creative as well. And so I'll send you, we're hoping to get these published properly and have them available, but COVID just put a halt to all that. So all I have now is a PDF, which I'll send the link to you later on. And I'll send it in the morning, actually. And you can have a read of this lecture. Some of you might have downloaded it already, but if you have, maybe you could download it again, because it has been slightly updated. And this whole lecture, you know, there's a bit of a foreword from Vajrashura. So it's a lecture going through basically the nature of mind, you could say. It talks about how enlightenment is a state of continual creativity, and we can have different modes of operating. We can have a creative mind and a reactive mind. And a reactive mind just goes round and round in circles, and a creative mind is it's a creative mind, as the phrase says. And in Buddhism, the starting point of everything is the mind, yeah? So that's why this, like, in a way, looking at the mind in this way, we will unfold everything you need to know about Buddhism, really. I mean, I think there's enough in this book to gain enlightenment, basically, if you really, really went for it, you know, if you really put your mind to it. Yeah, so it starts off by talking about the reactive mind, the creative mind. It goes into areas like, looks at the wheel of life, which is an image that we'll look at in the next 2 weeks, or aspects of that image we'll look at. And then we'll look at how we can move from a reactive cycle to a creative spiral. And then it ends the book with looking at the qualities of the enlightened mind. So I'd really encourage you to read this book, and actually we'll be asking you to read this book as part of the home practice. There's also, in the second half of the book, a number of seminars. So let me just, so there's a number of seminars. So these are kind of seminars that Sangharakshita has led, where he picks out some things like the questions and answers session that are really interesting as well. Like, why do you listen to the Dharma? You know, why would you practice the Buddha's teachings, for example? And it's a way to experience him talking more informally as well, and there's just some really good, interesting things. So like a habit of creativity based upon an old Buddhist text. So they're a bit more involved in a way. In some ways a bit more involved in that it doesn't explain things as fully there, but they're really interesting to read as well if you want to read onto them. And I'd really encourage you to, well, we'll be encouraging you to do the home practice and read the pages that we directed. To be a certain number of pages each week. But if you want to just read the whole book, just go and read the whole book. Yeah, it's a really good book. But if you're going to read the whole book this week, then reread it again next week or the week after. And again, you know, this kind of thing. I've read this lecture several times, and each time one reads any Buddhist text, one gets more from it. That's how Buddhism tends to work. You reread things again and again, and you'll find new things in it every week, every time that you read it. Okay, and it is, like Prasannadeva said, I'd agree, it's one of my favorite lectures by Sangharakshita, and it's just a really good way to study the Dharma. And we'll be going through the content each week as well, but we'll be using the content of the book as a jumping off point. So we'll be going into much more detail than in the book, yeah, and into different areas. So anyways, I'll send that. It'll probably be tomorrow morning by the time I get that to you, because we'll be sending out the video as well. Is that right, Prasannadeva, tomorrow morning? Yeah, tomorrow morning. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say on the book. And then one last thing before we finish for a quick tea break. maybe Prasannadeva, you could put the link in the chat in a second, or Stephen. This course has been run completely free. So one of the interesting things that we've tried in the pandemic is, rather than charging for our courses, we just decided, let's just make everything free and give it to people. And if people feel like they want to then support us in turn, well, then you're very free to do so. And it's a really nice way to work. Rather than it being an exchange of services, basically we'll give you everything we have. And we're not asking you to give everything you have, although you can. But if you feel like you want to give us €100 to keep the centre going, you know, because this year is going to be a bit odd coming out of COVID and everything like that, and you know, we'll be okay, but you know, it might be, but it'll be challenging this year financially, I suspect, because you know, things are going to open up slowly again. But if you can give, say, we normally suggest €20 a night, so if you can give €120 for the whole course, that would be wonderful, really, really wonderful. If you could give more than that, that's even better. I'm not saying you'll gain enlightenment quicker, but you might. And if you've no money at all and you can't give anything, that's completely fine too. We're just happy to have you here. Okay, so give whatever you can, and if you can't give anything at all, that's fine too. And we'll send that link in the email that we send out every week, and I'll remind you once or twice as well. Our Prasannadeva will remind you once or twice over the course as well. And again, just to reassure people, sometimes you have to say this in Ireland: if you can't give anything, that's completely fine too. You know what I mean? You coming here is not dependent upon giving us money. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's all I want to say for now. Why don't we have a 10-minute break, and let's be back at 8 o'clock, ready to kick off. And Prasannadeva will then take us properly into the teachings of Buddhism. So we'll see you back here, ready to go at 8 o'clock.
Great. So I'm going to talk a bit now about enlightenment. So we're going to start kind of at the end of the Buddhist journey with enlightenment. And it's an interesting thing, because if you ask someone, what do you mean, what's your understanding of enlightenment? People will probably more than likely kind of struggle to say exactly what that is. Even I would struggle exactly to kind of express what enlightenment is, really. But if you show someone, say, an image of the Buddha, most people are going to recognize him. They're going to have associations with him. They're going to say, oh yeah, that's the Buddha. He's to do with Buddhism, and there's the whole tradition involved with that. So it's universally recognized. And the thing is, enlightenment as an experience in its absolute sense is ineffable. So words cannot express what it is. But where words fail, images often prevail. So I'm going to ask Vajrashura now to share the image of the Buddha. If he has that ready.
Sorry, my internet connection went just a little bit. Do you want me to share that now?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
My internet's a little unstable, so hopefully this works. But I'll share it now.
Thank you. So I hope you can all see the image. So I just want you to take a look, and in your own time, put into the chat box any sort of words that just come to mind about what this image is communicating to you. What does it represent for you? What are your associations? So whenever it feels right, just pop in a word or a couple of words into the chat box about what you think, what you have associated with this image. Grounded expansion, yeah, excellent. Serenity, stillness, serenity again, yeah. Presence, peace, balance, wakefulness, compassion. Inward peace, that's great, yeah. Beauty, exactly, yeah. So we're not stuck for words here, are we? We have associations. We have something radiating from this image. So we're using words, but we're probably not quite getting to the core of what enlightenment is, but yet we have a sense of it. We have the image is communicating something, the image of the Buddha. So some more words coming in: transcendence, exactly; stillness, centered; nobility, gentleness, exactly. So we have this universal image of the Buddha, and that actually takes us quite a long way. It communicates an awful lot to us about what enlightenment is. And this is why Buddhists are so devotional to the image of the Buddha. The image communicates something that words just cannot do. This is why we prostrate ourselves or bow. We take off our shoes when we go into a shrine room, all those things. So yeah, I thought that's really interesting, just to see how quickly you could come up with words that all sort of fit with the image, and they're all correct. They're all pointing in the similar direction. And while words ultimately cannot express what enlightenment really is, they can point us towards what it is. They help us to grasp the direction of the path of enlightenment, the path that Buddhism is taking us on. Words can give us a glimpse of the enlightenment experience. So words aren't to be just dispensed with straight away just because I'm telling you that ultimately enlightenment is ineffable and can't be expressed in words. So I'm going to attempt to, again, kind of point towards what the enlightenment experience is with words and concepts, but don't take this too literally. I'm going to start off with what enlightenment is not. So it's not sort of disappearing into the universe when you become enlightened. Enlightenment isn't becoming one with everything. So if you're familiar with the pizza joke that the famous journalist told the Dalai Lama, who just didn't get it, I'll have one with everything. The joke isn't actually accurate. So it's not, enlightenment isn't about becoming one with everything. It isn't something that we can have. It's not something that we can sort of attach onto our ego identity, onto ourselves. It's not something that's impossible to achieve. It's not the absence of, it is the absence of all neurotic craving whatsoever. There's absolutely no craving that can cause suffering. It is the absence of all hatred or ill will. It is the complete absence of an identification with the self that is separate from everything around it. So we tend to think of ourselves as individuals separate from everything that is around us, an inward experiencing me and an outward experiencing other or that or them. So it's the absence of that. It's also not immortality. So what is it? What is enlightenment? So enlightenment is the overflowing abundance of compassion for all sentient beings, which includes yourself. It is the total interconnectivity with everything around you. It is, as some of you said, it's peace, it is contentment, it is the ever-evolving levels of creativity and potentiality. And what I wanted to draw out at this point is that it's ever-evolving. It's not a static, fixed thing. Once you get there, that's it. It's an ever expanding or ever developing creativity. The potentiality doesn't end. Sometimes it's described as seeing things as they really are, not kind of covered up by the lenses of craving or hatred or ill will. It is bliss and happiness in any given situation. The emphasis here being on any given situation. So it's not based on conditions that, you know, we can often feel quite happy. But imagine feeling bliss and happiness regardless of what conditions you're in. That is what enlightenment is. And it is deathless. So it's even beyond this idea of there being life and death, this dichotomy between being alive and not being alive. It's beyond all that. It's beyond all that sort of dichotomy. So it's not just being immortal, as I said. It's actually about experiencing existence as being deathless. Reality is deathless. It goes beyond that dichotomy. Okay, if you could stop sharing the image now, Vajrashura, that'd be great. Thank you. So in this lecture that Sangharakshita gave, he describes a little bit about enlightenment, but also wants to talk about how do we sort of get there? How can it be actually attained? We kind of, as Buddhists, you know, we tend to believe that it actually can be attained. The Buddha wasn't a god in the sense of, say, in a theistic religion like Catholicism, well, Christianity, or Hinduism, which is polytheistic, would have many gods, and has a creation myth. But Buddhism doesn't have that sort of God figure. It doesn't have a creator figure that you can never become. The Buddha was a human being who gained enlightenment. He became much more than a human being. But that's also something that's potentially there for us, something that we can also attain. Again, be careful with the word attain. It's one of the phrases and one of our rituals is what the Buddha attained, we too can attain. But in a way, we aren't attaining anything. We're becoming a Buddha. So in this lecture, he communicates what I'm going to call what we call three big ideas that elucidate for us an easy to understand way of what it means to be a Buddhist. So he doesn't use traditional terminology that we would be used to in you know, sort of reading an encyclopedia about Buddhism. He's not going to use the more traditional language. So I'm going to go through these three big ideas, and then we'll do a little reflection on those. So the first big idea is that mind is the basis for all experience. So mind is the basis of all experience. So this is quite an important idea in all Buddhist traditions. The mind is primary. And mind is twofold. So there's sort of two levels, so to speak, of mind. There's what we could call big mind or Buddha mind. More traditionally, it has been called absolute mind. And then the other kind of mind we have is relative mind, the more everyday mind. So big mind or Buddha mind is I'm going to quote here, so that infinite, cosmic or transcendental awareness within whose pure timeless flow the subject-object polarity as we ordinarily experience it is forever dissolved. It's very simple. I'll say it again, and then I'll draw it out a bit more. That infinite cosmic or transcendental awareness within whose pure timeless flow the subject-object polarity as we ordinarily experience it is forever dissolved. So this is a kind of, it's a mind that is undivided, without a me and a you, without an internal me and an external other or you or that thing outside of ourselves. It's kind of one of those, it can be easily misinterpreted, I think, particularly in this quote from, it's in the ebook that you're going to get, this quote that I just read out, and it says, awareness within whose pure timeless flow. That within whose kind of suggests a personality. And I just want to highlight that, this absolute mind, or big mind, Buddha mind, is not God. It's not a creator God, or a personality in that sense. Today, we often refer to this kind of thing as a super personal force, something much bigger than what we usually identify as mind, something beyond that, kind of a self-orientated mind. And I'm always asking, well, how can we know this to be true? How can, I mean, actually, we can't. We kind of have to take a word for it. But I do wonder things like when we have uncanny experiences, when things sort of happen that it couldn't be a coincidence, synchronicities that happen, sublime experiences of beauty in nature, a glimpse of something bigger than ourselves, and sometimes just a sense of an intuition that, oh yeah, that makes sense. What I'm hearing, that kind of makes sense. So I think that's kind of how I know it to be true, or my sense of it being true. Yeah. So that's big mind, Buddha mind, absolute mind. We're not going to go too much into that because it's a bit abstract at the moment. There's not a lot we can do practically, but it's good to kind of hold that in relation to what we're also doing. So we're going to be working mostly with the second type, which is relative mind. And I'm going to quote again: by relative mind, it's meant the individual mind or consciousness functioning within the framework of the subject-object polarity. Again, not exactly the easiest language, but so I'll say it again. By relative mind is meant the individual mind or consciousness functioning within the framework of the subject-object polarity. So this is the mind we usually understand, that we usually experience. It's mind as we usually understand it. We think of a me, and we think of me and you, internal experiencing and external experience. It's how we generally operate, is in the relative mind. And for now, just for simplicity, we're just going to refer to it as mind. So if I talk about mind, we're just going to be talking about the relative mind as opposed to the absolute mind, the Buddha mind. So that's the first big idea, that mind is the basis for all experience. So without mind comes first, and out of that comes experience. So that's quite different to the more scientific materialist view, is that there's material, and out of that, because of the chemicals in our brain and the physiology, out of that comes what we identify as mind or consciousness. It's contrary to that. Okay, the second big idea. Mind can operate in one of two modes, reactive or creative. And these are not two different minds, but rather just one mind that is operating in two very different ways. So the first way I'm going to talk about is the reactive mind. Again, this is the sort of reactive mind is what we're probably more familiar with, unless you're a really exceptional individual. I know I mostly operate in this way, and what it is really is it's reactive. So in that sense, it does not, there's a stimuli, and the mind just responds to that stimuli in a habitual manner. It's unthinking. It's like a reflex. It just sort of does what it's used to. It's the path of least resistance. And to that extent, it's a mind that isn't free. You're not free to choose how you want to respond to that stimuli. So I'm going to ask you guys, actually, so another little activity. What are the qualities of the reactive mind in your life? How do you think, if you think about the sort of things in your day-to-day life where you just react, you just sort of habitually do the same thing in the same way, unthinkingly, and may not be very helpful. What do you think that might be in your own life? So you can just pop that into chat whenever. Maybe none of us are reactive. An impulse to check my phone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, doom scroll. Yeah, exactly. Being defensive, chaotic. Yeah. Overworking and not having enough breaks. Definitely. Yeah. Same type of arguments. That's really a really good example. You know, it's like, how do I end up in the same situation with these people over and over again? Carol, I resonate with your one. Eating without being attentive. Yeah. Fearful thoughts. Being critical. Yeah. Judging. Yes, very much so. Like we are tied to our own habits. Exactly. Criticism, critical. Yeah. So I was recently listening to something, it wasn't Buddhist, it was about Jungian psychoanalysis, and they were talking about memes and kind of these sort of self-help memes that we see all the time about being well or being mindful, and how in a way they're actually reinforcing something that is the opposite to what they're trying to promote, which is like a very quick, unthinking a response to just sort of get a sort of dopamine hit or something, like, oh yeah, that I resonate with that. Whereas that's not necessarily, that's kind of encouraging that reactive mind. Daydreaming, yeah. Craving, great. So it seems like we all have a clear sense of what the reactive mind is, how it's playing out in our lives. We all kind of resonate. It seems like we're all resonating with that. So I'll just mention a couple of things for me that I notice. I notice in the morning that it's the exact same sort of thing of just wanting to stay in bed. Regardless of how good the day is looking for me, I just want to stay in bed. Another one is I'll have made a really lovely healthy meal. I finish it, I feel full, I feel satisfied, but I still reach out for that chocolate bar or the ice cream. That's the reactive mind. It's the mind that when I'm meditating, I just go through the motions. I'm not really behind it. I have a kind of, let's just get this done. I keep things superficial. That's my mind being reactive. It's a mind that, without even noticing, is absorbing information from advertising or marketing material, and suddenly I kind of feel like, oh, I really want a new phone, or I really want a new iPad. I don't, it feels like I'm coming up with that myself, but actually it's just the reactive mind being stimulated by reacting to the stimuli of marketing material telling me that I need these things. So I hope that gives you a good flavor of what the reactive mind is. So now, without even kind of explaining it, what do you imagine are the qualities of a creative mind? So pop that into chat if you any ideas. Yeah, open, reflective. Sure. Kindness over impatience, definitely. Open-minded. Aware, present. Generative, interesting. Constructive, definitely. Much better, yes, it would be much better, yeah. Inspired, expansive, yeah. Playful, definitely, that's a really good one. It is playful. It has a quality of play to it. Being talkative, it could manifest as being talkative, Brendan, yeah, that could be one way in which it does. Curious, definitely curious, yeah. experimental original. Great. This course teaches itself. I don't need to do anything. So yeah, it's essentially all those things that you guys are describing. We don't often operate in the creative mode. It's generally a very spontaneous mind that operates out of the depths of our own nature. It is not dependent on or overly conditioned by stimuli. So you could be in a situation where there's a very strong stimuli. So you could be with a work colleague that pushes your buttons. They're shouting at you and telling you how useless you are, and you do not respond with anger. You notice the stimuli, and you have the freedom to choose to respond the way that you want to from your own experience, the depths of your own experience. So you respond rather than react. So again, so have a think about when you notice your mind is operating creatively. You'll probably notice it's not as often as you'd like. For me, it's most obvious when I'm on retreat. I notice I have more energy, curious fascination with everything, way more than I would in my normal day-to-day life. I also noticed when, and this took quite a bit of time and practice, but I don't react to people who are aggressive towards me, but rather I think, okay, well, what's going on for them? Why are they getting so aggressive towards me? And this isn't all the time. It's not as much as I like, but it's going the right direction. I'm definitely a lot less reactive. And when I get into this kind of flow state sometimes, so usually it's when I'm serving something much bigger than myself. Or the example that jumps to mind is when I'm on retreat in Cavan. We used to go to a place in Cavan on retreat, and I'd be the cook. I'd be cooking for maybe 22 people over a week, and so it's a lot of food, a lot of work. But I just kind of get into the flow of okay, I have to do this, and suddenly I'm not even thinking about me having to do this. I'm just kind of responding spontaneously to the needs of the situation. And it doesn't feel like work. It feels much more, I get very tired, but I don't feel like I have to go, oh, okay, now next thing. It's just a spontaneous response. It's energy. So that's the creative mind. So hopefully that gives you a taste of what it is we're kind of getting at with the creative mind. So that's the second big idea. So the first big idea is that mind is the basis for all experience. And we have mind, the relative mind can operate in two modes: the reactive mode, the reactive mind, and the creative mind. Okay, but one might ask, okay, so the mind can be reactive or creative, so what? The reactive mind sounds much easier. So why don't I just live reactively? So this is the big idea number 3. The reactive mind leads to suffering, isolation, narrowing down of options, less and less perspective. Whereas the creative mind will lead to happiness, connection. More options are opening up to you. You get more and more perspective on the way things really are. So that's sort of the third big idea, that the reactive will lead to suffering for yourself and others. The creative will lead to happiness for yourself and others, amongst other things. So the reading material will go into this in much more depth. So I'm not kind of going to go too much into this third big idea much more. I would much rather just do a reflection practice. Now, I'm way over time, but I think it's still good to do this practice, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Let me just check the scheduling here. Yeah, so I think we can do for about six minutes or so. So just set yourself up there for posture, for just as we did earlier, not necessarily a meditation posture, but just that you're comfortable, you're upright, and when you're ready, just closing your eyes. Just reconnecting with your body. So just becoming aware of the sensations of the body. We did a body scan in the first half, and hopefully by the end of that we were in a place of more awareness. So let's try to get back to that space. Being aware of your body, your emotional state, being aware of your thoughts, and just letting them pass as much as possible, not grasping onto them. And with reflection practice, we're just going to drop some ideas into this place of awareness. So sometimes the image is used of a very still lake. Just dropping a pebble into the lake and just observing the ripples on the surface of the water. So a bit like that, we're just going to drop some ideas, some thoughts. So this evening we had the image of the Buddha. And all the associations with that image. You heard about what enlightenment is not, what it is. We heard about the big mind, Buddha mind, or you could call it the absolute mind. A mind that is undivided by a sense of self and other. So what do you think about that? How do you feel about that? We learned a bit about the relative mind. This is the mind we experience right now as a self, an internal me, an external you. A subject, such as feelings, emotions, thoughts. And object, that which is not feelings, thoughts, or emotions. We learned that this relative mind can operate creatively or reactively. So we can ask ourselves, when in my day-to-day life do I notice I am most reactive? When in my day-to-day life am I most creative? Experiences are preceded by mind, led by mind, and produced by mind. If one acts or speaks with an impure mind, suffering follows, even as the cartwheel follows the hoof of the ox drawing the cart. Experiences are preceded by mind, led by mind, and produced by mind. If one speaks or acts with a pure mind, happiness follows, like a shadow that never departs. Those who entertain such thoughts as, he abused me, he beat me, he conquered me, he robbed me, will not still their hatred. Those who do not entertain such thoughts as he abused me, he beat me, he conquered me, he robbed me, will stir their hatred. Not by hatred are hatreds ever pacified here in this world. They are pacified by love. This is the eternal law. Just for the last 30 seconds, setting an intention for the remaining weeks of this course. How you'd like to engage the next 6 weeks. When you're ready, bringing some movement back, opening your eyes, bringing the reflection to an end. Okay, good. So I'm going to ask Vajrashura now if he could put up the slide with the home practice, if that's all right. Okay. So the first 17 pages of the book, now that sounds like a lot, but it's you probably saw earlier, the margins are very big, so don't panic. And but yeah, it's the first 17 pages of the book. So if you've learned to meditate with us before, just to meditate every day, and notice the reactive mind and the creative mind at work in meditation. So I used my example there earlier about how the reactive mind manifests for me in meditation. So see how it manifests for you. Yeah. So notice the creative mind at work in your life. So you might like to keep a journal of these. So you are being creative at some point in your day-to-day life, and hopefully as the course goes on, you become more and more creative. The more you learn about this, the more you can bring awareness to it. So even if it's just something very, very small that is breaking down the habit, take note of it. Notice how you feel after that as well. How does it impact others? How has it impacted the situation or relationship with others? So I'd like, it would be good if you could bring that to the class next week as well for the breakout groups to hear if you've noticed yourself being creative in that sense throughout the week. Okay, and I think that's all that's all the home practice. So that will be in an email as well, in a follow-up email to remind you all. So don't worry, you don't have to rush to take it down. So we're going to have a breakout room now. In this breakout room, you can sort of discuss your response to the input so far, but also discuss how you're going to approach that home practice, how you intend to bring that sort of attention to your day-to-day life. Maybe you can talk about the meditation if you've learned to meditate. And also just your general responses to the input. So Stephen, whenever you're ready, if you could put those breakout groups again for the 15 minutes this time.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. I think we just say a few final things and finish up. I have one or two things. I don't know if you want to say anything.
Let me just check my notes. No, there's nothing I need to say in particular. No. So you go ahead.
Great. Just one thing. Do print. One of the things we're talking about there in our group is that it's a really good idea to print off the book if you can, because as I was saying in the first half, you will reread that book. You know what I mean? And ideally, I'd love to give you a printed copy, but we don't have them printed yet. But I'd really encourage you to print it off, because you will go back to it and leave it somewhere where you're going to notice it. And oh god, there's something else there I was going to say about it. Oh, I can't remember now. And oh yeah, that was it. And like we were talking in the group there, one of us, like, we're throwing you in at the deep end in a way with Buddhism. Some of the material is quite dense there, so you can go and read the lecture again and cover the material again. Now the Sangharakshita that he talks can be quite dense at times, but just stick with it, because it's quite full. But it's a really, really interesting lecture, and the Q&A is very good as well at the back. So do the home practice. And next week, Prasannadeva and I will be here, and we'll be covering, we'll be starting into the Wheel of Life, which is a really interesting image, and looking at the different realms in which we can inhabit. And thanks, Liz has just put the guided meditations. I'll put that in the email, because once the Zoom closes, you probably won't have that link anymore. I'll put that link in the email that I send out tomorrow as well. So don't worry about that. I think that's it then. So I hope you get on well during the week, and we'll see you in a week's time.